All right, welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to dig into something that I bet a lot of you have felt. That feeling when you're looking at all your project data, but something just feels off. We're going to go beyond the spreadsheets to find the real secret to projects that aren't just on time, but are genuinely healthy.
And this quote, man, it just hits home, doesn't it? You've got all your charts, all your metrics, your CPI, your SPI, and they're all lined up. But your gut is telling you there's something else going on, right under the surface.
So, that really brings us to the big question here. Why is there this gap between what the data says and what we feel is actually happening on the ground? We're going to tackle that head on and try to move from just looking at confusing numbers to getting some real clarity. So let's kick things off by looking at the story the numbers don't tell. We're going to see how our traditional metrics are great at telling us what is happening, but they almost always miss the most important question, why it's happening. You know, a good way to think about it is like this. The numbers we get from frameworks like earned value management, they're like taking someone's temperature. A fever tells you something's wrong, sure, but it doesn't tell you if it's just a cold or something much more serious. These numbers, they're the symptoms, not the disease itself. Okay, so to really get a handle on what these numbers are telling us, let's break it down with a super simple analogy to decode these vital signs.
So let's imagine our project is just building a house. A really simple one, just 4 walls. The whole thing should take 4 weeks and cost $4,000. So the plan is simple. 1 week, 1 wall, $1,000. Easy enough, right? This is going to be our model to make all these concepts crystal clear.
Okay, first concept, planned value, or PV for short. This is just a fancy way of saying what you plan to get done. In our little house project, by the end of week 2, the plan was to have 2 walls finished, so our planned value is $2,000. But, reality rarely goes exactly to plan, right? Let's say it's the end of week 2 and we've only finished 1 wall. The value of that 1 wall is $1,000. That's our earned value, or EV. And to get that 1 wall built, we actually spent $1,200. That's our actual cost, or AC. See that? A gap is already starting to open up. And this is where it gets really interesting, because these basic numbers give us our main health indicators. We get a schedule performance index, or SPI, of 0.5, and a cost performance index, CPI, of about 0.83. These are the first little red flags telling us something's up. But this is the absolute key, and it's where a ton of people get it wrong. An SPI of 0.5 does not mean your team is lazy or working at half speed. It just means you've only produced half the value you plan to by this point. Same for the CPI. It's not about efficiency. It means for every single dollar you've burned, you've only created 83 cents of real planned value. These are health meters, not speedometers. And that's the whole point, right? Earned value management is fantastic at showing us the symptoms. It screams at us, hey, we're behind schedule and we're over budget. But it can't by itself answer the most important question of all. Why? What's the real reason? For that, we got to dig deeper. So if the numbers don't give us the why, where do we find it? Well, we have to stop looking at the project as just a to-do list and start seeing it for what it really is, a complex human system. And there's actually a great framework for this called Wellness Quality Management, or WQM. Think of it like a set of diagnostic tools that let us look under the hood at the human dynamics that are really driving those numbers we just saw. WQM is built on this really cool idea called the 4H model. First up is holding. Is everything clear? Do people know what they're supposed to be doing? Then there's health. How's the team feeling? Are they overworked, heading for burnout? Third is happiness. Are people motivated? Do they feel good about their work? And finally, harmony. Are people working well together? Is there trust? Okay, so let's circle back to that number that was giving us trouble, that cost performance index of 0.83. We know we're losing 17 cents on every dollar. The number itself just shouts, problem. And this is where the 4H model is just brilliant. It lets us start asking the right questions. Is our CPI in the red because the team is exhausted? A health problem? Or is it because 2 key people just aren't communicating? A harmony problem? Or maybe the requirements were never clear to begin with? A holding problem? See, the number points to the issue. The 4H model helps find the cause. This brings us to another huge idea. Value isn't real if the quality isn't there. A burned out or confused team might rush to build that wall. But if it's crooked and has to be torn down and rebuilt, well, that earned value was just an illusion, wasn't it? Quality is the invisible foundation that gives all these other numbers their real meaning.
Okay, so now we can connect the numbers to the people, which is huge. But what if we could get ahead of the curve? What if we could start to predict these problems before they even happen?
You see, EVM on its own is always looking in the rearview mirror. The numbers turn red after you're already in trouble. But when we bring in tools like artificial intelligence, we can flip the script. AI can spot tiny, subtle patterns and trends, warning us that we're drifting toward a problem long before the alarm bells actually go off. And when you put all of this together, you get this incredibly powerful, multi-layered system. First, EVM tells you what is happening. Then, the 4H model helps you understand why it's happening. And finally, AI can give you a heads up on what's likely to happen next. It's a complete view of your project's health, past, present, and future. Okay, so that's the theory, but what does this actually look like in the real world? How do we take this much richer picture and actually use it to make better decisions?
Well, it all starts with a big shift in how we think. We have to get away from this simple on or off, good or bad kind of thinking. We need to embrace what the source material calls quantum state thinking. It means a project can be two things at once. It can be perfectly on budget, but at the cost of burning out your best people. Both of those things can be true at the same time.
And the best part is, you can start doing this, like tomorrow. Here are 3 super practical first steps. 1. Next time you have a project status meeting, pair your number crunching with a quick 4H check-in. 2. Start tracking a couple of human KPIs, things like team workload or psychological safety. And 3. Let AI be your early warning system, but always use your human wisdom to make the final call.
So at the end of the day, it comes down to this one question for you and your projects. By blending the hard data with the human factors, holding, health, happiness, and harmony, we do more than just build things right. We build them better. We start creating projects that don't just look successful on a spreadsheet, but are resilient, sustainable, and truly healthy from the inside out.